Okay. Well, I want to ask you, when it comes to Cassie and the Jane Doe, i.e., alleged 50 Cent baby mama, when it comes to the women who took the stand against Diddy, are they villains or victim? I don't want to say hoes, but, you know, so here's my thing. Here's my theory. Cassie, the prosecutors most likely came to Cassie saying, if you do not cooperate with us, we're going to include you as a conspirator for participating in the sex trafficking along with Diddy. And that's why she became a witness for the prosecutor, even though, because this all kicked off with her civil lawsuit with Diddy. And then that's when the prosecutors later brought this federal RICO trial on him, using her as their main key witness. But he was not guilty when it came to her. So these women, are they villains or are they real victims?
It all depends. See, a lot of times, especially in the federal system, the prosecution is based on the prosecutors approaching somebody that was involved. In this case, there's the civil action that brings this to their attention. They approach and they threaten the prospective witness with prosecution if they don't cooperate with what's going on. Now, here's where the problem comes in. Any state prosecution, any of the 50 states generally, the defense is entitled to all of this information so it can find out that this witness was threatened. Go and interrogate the witness, get statements, and as soon as the trial starts and that witness gets, isn't it a fact, sir? Isn't it a fact, ma'am, that the government approached you and threatened to prosecute you if you didn't support them? And you can just tear the whole thing up. But in the federal system, you're not entitled to any of this information. They keep it like playing poker, where nobody gets to see what your whole card whole cards are. So what goes on is you don't find out who all the witnesses are until the trial starts and they call them. Then you get 15, 20 minutes to look over a transcript of what they said in front of a grand jury. That's all you get. In the state system, you're entitled to a list of all the witnesses, their contact information. Not only that, you are also entitled to a list of witnesses that through the exercise of due diligence, the prosecution should have been able to come up with. They have to supply you with that. They have to tell you what they think the witness is going to say. They have to give you the theory of the case, and so on and so forth. So there is no trial by ambush. Everybody knows what's going on before the trial starts. In the federal system, they can keep their mouth shut. You don't know anything about it, which makes what they did when they initiated this prosecution against Diddy rather peculiar. They had 5 counts, which in a typical federal case, a very serious one where there is organized crime involved, ordinarily those 5 counts would be in 2.5 pages. They went on for 14 and then had an hour-long press conference detailing how bad a guy Diddy was before anything happened. Ordinarily, in a federal case, you have to file motion after motion after motion to get 30 seconds worth of that press conference worth of information. So there was something peculiar like that about this. And also that same office is the one that went after the New York mayor, where they had 58 pages on a small indictment, including a lot of pictures and everything, trying to ramp it up to show the mayor Eric Adams was such a bad guy because he used money to rent a room in this hotel that he didn't need to have to. It's not even a crime scene. So that shows me that there was a political purpose involved and a great deviation from their ordinary procedures. So we have that going. So these people that you have in the question you asked specifically on the tail end of it, with the big context in place, is this: the lack of personal responsibility. There is a concern for children getting done wrong. That is appropriate, that's necessary, and that's proper. But at some point, the child grows up and becomes an adult. So they insult women typically by saying this woman, though she is equal to everybody else, For some reason, in the legal system, we want to consider her as a child, so she's not responsible for her actions. So what you saw with these two women was essentially a declaration by the system that there's some silly little birds who aren't responsible for their own actions. This one you have up here, the high bright one, got, what is it, 40 million, maybe $50 million out of it.
30 million.
30 million with another 10 coming up. So it looks like, yeah, I mean, there's more on that.
I think she got 20 million, then the 10, which is the 30, which
well, she got a lot of money, and a lot of hoes is not getting that much money in their whole life, even if they're doing high level switchboard. So, you know, and then porn stars don't get that kind of money, and all she did was live performance, basically, instead of being recorded and shown on Pornhub. So, bottom line is,
it was the abuse, you know. With
yeah, but that's the pimp game. That's the pimp game, and the new mayor of candidate for the Democrats in New York, the mayoral candidate, what's his name? I forget. Saying,
Zohan.
Yeah, he's saying you should legalize prostitution. So when he says legalizing prostitution, everything you heard here is a light addition of what the whole pimp game is about. So that's what he's talking about. So you've got one governmental prospect here, a potential mayor for the Democrats, is advocating making everything that this man stood trial to defend against legal. See, what you saw was a typical pimp hoe game. And part of the problem, which I'm surprised the defense, being well funded, didn't bring in some clinical psychologists to talk about, is the sadomasochistic aspects of this. I used to do this when I was a judge. When I had a pimp hoe situation, I'd get everybody that copped out or got found guilty evaluated, and invariably there is a masochistic thing going on in there and a sadist thing going on there, where one enjoyed inflicting pain, to wit the pimp, and the other one enjoyed getting it, the prostitute. And when you got it, it's like that flashed me back to when I was a defense lawyer. I could get the girl off of the street, but if she kept going back to the whole track, I couldn't get her protected because she'd put herself right back in the pimp's hands. And when I'd get them evaluated, sometimes I'd try to get relief for them. It would invariably come back on the psychological report that she had such low self-esteem that she fundamentally felt she deserved getting beat on because she was a bad person. And what she was engaging in terms of prostitution or the acts in question, made her feel even worse about herself. So it's a bad person. A bad person does these kind of things, so let me do it because I know I'm bad. And when I do them, I feel worse, so I want to keep doing them over and over. Again, it's a vicious descending dialect. The dialectical situation is not good. Mm-hmm. So this is what you have here. And the defense didn't put any proof on to that, but it turns out didn't need it because the counts that embraced that were not guilty verdicts.
The defense, that people were saying that the defense actually went light on Cassie because she was 9 months pregnant when she took the stand. And so I guess you didn't want to come off as a villain of, you know, really digging into her. But it was another witness, the Jane Doe. They were a little bit more stern with her. So here's the question, because let's bring Hollywood into this. Listen, Cassie was with this man for 10 years. It's with women who are vanity driven. I don't care what women say. It's not, I guess it's not easy for people to walk away from all that fame, fortune, and all that attention that you get when you are with a very wealthy, high profile, powerful man. No matter what he's into in the bedroom, because he was into some, you know, other stuff. He gave you a choice. This is what I'm into. If you are in my life personally, you have to participate, or you could just leave, right? So again, they didn't want to walk away, and they could have walked away like, I'm not into that, goodbye. But he has the fame, he has the fortune, the glitz, the glamour, sex, rock and roll, Hollywood. Do people, so my question to you is, people throw all their morals and common sense out the way when it comes to this Hollywood lifestyle?
Okay, here. First off, if I was running this defense, I would have had an attractive female attorney in there to cross-examine her, a woman who was married with children, so she could identify with. There's also a thing that female attorney would bring up the issue when she was questioning or cross-examining this particular woman you're looking at here, and say, wait a minute, aren't you supposed to be equal to men? You're a woman and I'm a mother just like you. This isn't just what we have, so why are we suddenly weaker and not as able as these guys like the defendant over here? Why is it that we have to treat you with gloves on because you're so delicate and you're advocating that you're equal? And the other thing is this thing I was alluding to about sometimes people have to grow up and be responsible for what they do. It's kind of like, look at what they've done with these redeeming statutes on so-called sexual misconduct. Now, if I shot and killed somebody, aside from a criminal prosecution, and the family of my victim wanted to prosecute me for wrongful death, in damn near every state in the union, they'd have either 1 or 2 years to bring a civil action against me. But you turn around in one of those same states that gives you 1 to 2 years to bring a civil action when there's a killing involved, and they extend it to 40, 50 years for a booty pinch. Now, what time is that? Somewhere in there, something else is going on besides fair, equal justice. That means there's an agenda being run, and the agenda infers that women are somehow supposed to be inferior, which they are not. So that would have been a case for an attractive female attorney that was sharp on her feet, experienced, a mother, and married to get up and cross-examine that woman. Another thing, that woman could ask the witness, ma'am, now you engaged in this. How do you feel about this in terms of its long-term prospects? In other words, you're not yet a mother, but we have modern media. This isn't going away. So when your son, let's say you know if it's a boy or a girl? I don't know. Well, is it a boy? Well, what happens when he's on the playground, even in private school, and he's 15 years old, and somebody says, hey, wasn't your mama one of those whores for Diddy? How are you going to explain that to him? Didn't you think about this before you decided to do it for all of these years, these decades, decade and a half? What's up with you? See, that is the problem. How does she as a mother explain this to soon to be nascent freak too, who is going to be 12, 13, 14, 15, and even if a private academy, what kind of changes are going to mass him? Hey, man, ain't that your mama? Isn't that your mother who was involved with Diddy, that testified as to all of those sexual acts where she was acting as a prostitute?
They don't think about it because what Jane Doe has a son who's what 10, 11, and the father is a famous rapper allegedly. So
he tear his behind up on the playground when I went to elementary school. Hey man, ain't your mama a practicing hoe? She high class, ain't she, man?
A sex worker.
Hey man, did they have us? Man, I saw some stuff, man. They carried it, man. I was looking at Pornhub when my parents weren't around, man. She had stuff splashed all over her face. Wasn't that your mama, man? You know, was she dating another rapper? Was they both doing a man? See, that's the way we used to swing. Hell, my barber used to be the same one who was barber for Kim Kardashian's first husband. And boy, they wore him out at the barber shop. Hey, man. Don't that make you feel bad looking at your wife, man, when she was dealing with Ray J, man, and he was coming all over her face, man? Don't that make you feel bad? And he had to say, yeah, it did. So, I mean, these consequences.
It is consequences, but when it comes to Hollywood, fame, fortune, and attention, the consequences the people don't care about. Now, she is married with 3 kids and $30 million richer, which means her husband is $30 million richer. So
and is he simping her or pimping her? See, is he going to leave in 4 years and he's going to demand spousal support?
Exactly.
And he's going to say, hey, look at the videos, look at her testimony. Do you want this woman to be the mother with the soul or exclusive or primary custody of these 3 children?